Alright, it's Bud. Today we're going to be learning Krav Gradian, my favorite fake martial art. This is literally going to be a tutorial on how to fake a martial art. But make it look good.
Yes, Ladia Sensei.
Yes. Hi! Nice. Yeah, so I guess first we have to come up with a bow. I didn't even think of that. What's your bow for Isar? Is it like this? I don't know. You kind of do something like this.
Just anything. No.
Okay, so this. You do this. Sweet. Okay. That's your Isara respect bow. Understood. Okay. Yes, Sensei. So you do this. That ain't it.
Oh my.
That ain't it. This really ain't it. All right, we're going to go over key basic things right now, and I'm recording right now just so I can send this back to you in short order exactly what we're going over, and I'll put little text over it. So, finding the right stance. You use a southpaw stance, right, for Marn? Is it something like this?
Yeah.
That's what you use?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a bad stance. In fact, it is the exact same stance we use in karate, at least foot-wise. At least for me, brown belt karate, we do our 45 like so. And this stance will rarely ever change unless we need to change positions because we've received too much damage to one of our legs. So if your left leg's gotten too many kicks and been constantly hit in over and over again, we'll switch. And now our less dominant is in the left. And this is our charge hand, so if I'm gonna go and use dominant first, so we have our left and right. Obviously, this is my weaker hand. My power fist, my windup is right here. Now, next up on the list is guarding. You have a good guard wherever you go. This stance right here, it's good, and whatever you're doing is fine. Here's the guard I'm using for Ladia. The reason I use this for Gradian is because it's a social thing. When you put your hands down here and you open them, you're submitting. You're saying, look, I don't want to fight you. Please don't fight me. If your hands are up here, say you're a Muay Thai stance, if you're bouncing your leg and you're jumping around in your position and you're like throwing kicks, that's automatically a sign that you are meaning to harm or you know your stuff and you're looking for a fight. For Ladia, I'm doing this. For Marin, don't do that. This isn't Marin's style. But for me, this is what the primary stance I'm going to be using as a militia shit martial artist in Krav Gradian. In terms of where Marin's concerned, when it comes to, when it comes to her being in her element as a trained, I'm assuming Marin is a trained martial artist. Correct? Okay. So, Marin versus a trained swordsman is at the same skill level in terms of, if we're going by FT terms, you're at the same skill level in terms of experience within your combat prowess. You're at a disadvantage because if you don't have your weapon out, well, your spear out, you don't have reach, and that person can just slash toward you with a sword. However, that's not really a weakness because in terms of Krav Maga, like actual life Krav Maga, you literally learn to deal with blades. Same with Aikido. You learn to deal with blades, redirecting them, blending into attacks. So if you throw a punch toward me, Aikido is all about blending with the attack and allowing the person to go over and throwing them head over heels. And that's the whole bit. So you can go back to your spot. Don't get too far. But yeah, all about blending attacks and making it look frickin' baller and amazing. So we go right here. I'm gonna stand right here for you, right here. Pivoting will be important. We'll get to that. So our guard.
I
find a guard that works to you. What's up? Tell me.
Oh, I can't pivot as much anymore because I moved to a place where I have less play space.
So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to learn all about how to do that because I assumed as much you didn't have much space. All the stuff I'm gonna teach you, you'll be able to do in place. Every kata you can do in JKA karate that I learned, you are able to do in place. Everything.
Okay.
That's all the moves from the first kata all the way to orange belt kata where you jump in place. In literally, yeah. No. But regardless, it works. So if you're able to do that, then you're able to turn in place, correct? You're able to at least turn.
Yeah.
If not, there's a simpler way in doing it. You can raise your leg, kick style, and turn with your head or with your controller. It doesn't look too bad. So when you're ready to strike someone and you want to pivot, instead of pivoting in real life, which you can trip over your cord, you can extend your leg, get ready, make it look like, turn around, extend your leg out here, or go the other way instead of what I did. Boom! And it still looks decent as long as you're going slow-mo. That's something we're going to go over as well. We're going to go over slow-mo and why slow-mo in combat looks juicy and good. Okay? So, all this stuff that I'm going to show you can all be done in place. You just got to remember that you don't have to move in your play space at all when you're doing any of this. I'm just showing you from my point of view because I have a lot of space to work with, because back when I did lots of combat before my accident, I was able to move around quite a lot. So now I can do combat in about 10-minute short bursts before I get tired. Anyway, regardless of that, we're going to learn our guarding. Our guard always stays here in our position. So you've got southpaw guard, or however you want to do it, whatever style of southpaw. There's several different ways and techniques you can do. Mine are down here because I'm a submissive fighter. Marnes is up here because she likes to strike and end the fight as soon as possible. That's the whole point. It's very Krav Maga, like actual Krav Maga, because in Krav Maga, here's the beautiful thing about Krav Maga. Krav Maga is actually a fake martial art. You know why it's a fake martial art? It's because it steals every technique from every other martial art. So it's not even its original thing. It was developed in the 1930s and then adopted in the Israeli military, and it's literally just, it's the bastard martial art, and is one of the most recent martial arts along with Aikido. Aikido is also extremely recent martial arts. Philosophy, all about balance, all about technique, and being acceptance of oneself and accepting the situation. And Aikido is primarily used for real world events. So if you're being rushed with a knife, it is all about blending with attacks, taking as little damage as possible, and getting out of the way of combat, and usually running the fuck away. You're allowed to do that. Ideally, in any combat situation, if you are just outranked by someone that is just better than you, run away. Find someone that's better. All right? In a street fight, don't get in a street fight. Just fucking leave. So, for you, we keep our guard up. We have our stance. This will not change. Whatever you do, this stance will not change. You'll never stand like this when you're fighting someone. You're never gonna power stance and fight. Boom, boom, boom. Maybe if you bend your legs like this and you're going very traditional karate, but like that's traditional and all it takes is a push and you're flying backwards. So never do that. Keep your legs here. The reason we do it like this is because if you take a hit here, you've got a leg here. If you take a hit here, you can pivot on one foot. And this is what pivoting means. Pivoting is staying in the same spot you're in, but moving your feet, like moving the heel. So like for instance, if I want to pivot to the side, like in Aikido, you throw a punch at me real quick in my direction. I turn my foot here, right? And I pivot. I'm still in the same spot, but I've moved my back foot around. But I'm still here in the same spot. That's a pivot. You can do the same thing with the exact same motion when you kick. So if you're gonna heel kick, which is very powerful, and the only reason you're going to ever heel kick someone from the back is because if you front kick, what can you do right now?
Kick my desk.
Well, no. No, if you front kick, so you don't have to kick your desk. If you are the one receiving the kick, what can you do to my leg right now?
I'll grab it.
Grab it, and now you can trip me up. You can literally throw me head over heels. The reason most people choose to blend into, like, say you throw a punch, feint, and we turn on our back foot and we throw this kick is because the heel goes directly into you. It's extremely painful. And when you grab it, I'm able to slip out because my foot is facing the ground, as opposed to if it's not. So let me do it this way. So I have a couch here. So my foot can slip. Whereas if it's like this, right, and you grab it from the bottom, right, I'm gonna have trouble moving it because I have no wiggle room to get out. But if it's upside down like this, I can slip out, roll over, and get into a better position. You never want to be stuck like that when it comes. That's a very rare move. You'll never use it, but I'm just telling you now so that, you know, if it ever comes to kicking, you're never, you know, kicking too much forward. You can. I don't like kicking forward though. I never like exposing myself in that way. The max I'll do is a side kick, because it's harder to judge a side kick. Because if I'm throwing punches, if I'm going boom boom, you can't really tell what my leg's doing, and then I can hit your side. And one of the most effective side kicks in ever, and you can do this in place, is going for the liver. Your liver located on your right side, right here. So if you hit that side with a nasty kick, so if I land a kick there, boom. If I land a kick there, you're reeling and you're not gasping for air. Your heart's going into shock. It literally makes your blood stop flowing for a minute, and you almost fall over. It has nothing to do with air or lack of air. It's just it makes you have a little heart attack. So if you can kick in place, show me how much you can kick. Like even if it's just a side kick. This is also a pivot, by the way. When you kick to the side, all you're doing is turning this foot and then raising your knee up, bam, and then snapping it. Kind of like a praying mantis. Mm-hmm.
I have enough room to do a kick.
Perfect.
I just have to be careful. Like
perfect. You see, that looks good. So as long as you have room to perform those kicks, it's good. But always remember, when you kick, get back to your original position. So if it looks like this, so when you kick, pivot, boom, back to your original position. Right? The great news about this kick is, and another reason I like it, is because your whole body moves out of the way. Your whole body comes back. You can't get hit. You can't get hit by another kick. Boom, and your guard's still up. So my guard's still up the entire time, and I can see the person. So that's why I choose a side kick as opposed to a front kick. A front snapping kick isn't bad, but it's not practical when it comes to MMA and real-world fighting. There's a reason Aikido was not used in MMA, because it's not practical in that setting, unless it's like a real-world scenario where you're being rushed by a robber who's not trained. But against a trained fighter that's in Krav Maga or in Japanese traditional karate, JKA, which is what I took, you're gonna get slammed. It's so not fair. So let's do this. So we've learned our kicking, we have our guard, and all of this can be performed from the same position. If you want to switch legs, literally just switch legs. Your stance is still the same, and boom, you can do all the same moves. Nothing changes from that position. If you want to throw a little bounce into it, you can. A lot of styles choose the bouncing. JKA, traditional non-contact karate, does the bouncing. Stuff like this when it comes to, you know, traditional fighting and sparring, we do the bounce because it builds up momentum, it keeps your rhythm going. Blending. So to explain blending in the most simplest form, blending is literally just going with the attack, going with the flow and the energy of the person's attack. It's literally if you just throw jab or cross, jab, jab, jab. It's literally you just going and taking everything in a defensive form as best as possible. It has nothing to do with dodging or any of this. It's literally you taking the hit, but you redirecting the energy flow to make it, I suppose, just not hit you fully or move it out of the way. So one of the most common Aikido trip-ups, and even in Krav Maga, here's one thing about Krav Maga. Krav Maga actually uses one Aikido move in terms of tripping an opponent up, and it all has to do with literally just sidestepping, allowing a punch to happen, throwing punches of their own, or just something like this. So go ahead and throw a right hand toward me and I'll show you how it works. And this is something Lottie will love to enjoy moving. So if you throw that toward me, say you're aiming for my head right here, boom. So I'll come here, side pivot, boom, boom. Or so you can attack like this, or you can take the arm and you can do this. I can slip, I can go boom, make it go down, and then I can go like this, take my hand, literally grab your hair, go behind your leg, and throw you backwards. So something like that, obviously, a lot of NPCs won't want to do because they go to the ground pretty much instantly, but it is literally a defensive technique used for just nullifying an opponent. So if I did the same thing to you, if I were to throw a punch directly to your head, you need to move out of the way of the attack and throw. So if you go that way, my hand's still here. If you go that way, I can't reach you. You see how easier that is? You see how much more practical that is? So now I can't reach you, but you can. You can most definitely reach me. So you grab my hand with the opposite hand. I'm down now, boom, and now you can grab my head and then tuck your foot behind me using the exact same position we have. That can work, but you want to force me backwards. So as long as you're pushing me. Here, let's do it from my point of view again, just so you can get it one more time. And I'll do it over and over again because it's all about practice. That's what it's all about. It's the way of life. So throw a direct right punch toward my face. So what we're gonna do is I have to remember this. We're going to cut this, boom. All right, so this goes down and then this comes in. This hand grabs the hair, your leg moves forward, you change on the leg, and you get thrown backwards. One more time. Punch comes into the face, hand comes down, this comes in, grab, throw. It's literally to end a fight because as soon as that person's hair gets grabbed and they cannot backpedal on their foot, they can't move their leg back to pivot to try and avoid that takedown, their head's gonna go slamming into the back of the pavement. It is deadly. Krav Maga is all about killing. It is a killing technique. It's not used in a lot of MMA for the main reason it is literally called contact combat. It is literally made to kill. It's all about no rules, groin shots, breaking ribs in the most effective way possible. They literally take their knuckles and drive them into your throat. They do not care. Like there's no rule. Like if it's a kill all. It's a military martial art for a reason. It's to kill. So that would be like Marn's end all be all. There's no choice but to save the orphans type deal. So a very deadly technique. Now, so we've learned takedown techniques. You can do the same thing if you pull forward. Oh God, there you go. Do the same thing if you pull forward. Go ahead and punch me at my face again with your right hand. Throw a punch. You can do the exact same thing here. If I do this here, I can put my foot here and literally just continue your momentum. I'm not using my momentum. I'm using your kinetic energy, your momentum, your velocity to throw you forward into that direction. And meanwhile, I'm maintaining my footing. The reason I am is do it one more time, just punch toward my face again, is because I'm side pivoting. I'm still at a 45 with my legs. I'm taking your arm and throwing you and then twisting, right? I'm twisting. So you'll go that way and then you're dead. And then you're done. You're fucked. All right. Let's do this. Your job as a martial artist is to subdue. That's one of the key rules of most martial arts is it's used in self-defense. That's a primary first rule, and that's one of the rules and why I followed it in the first place is because it's not you go out and find a fight. It's you subdue an enemy if you give them a chance to live, obviously, and if they're there to fucking murder you, well, you got no choice. You gotta knock them out. You gotta run away, and most of the time, it's just better to run away. Okay, one more thing that has to do with, I think, so we covered pivoting. Hand-to-hand versus weapon. This is what I want to show you. This is the most ridiculous misconception ever. If we're going by FT standards, which typically we are whenever we're fighting, even when out of FT, because FT combat looks so good. The reason it looks so good is because there's a bit of realism to it, and we don't joystick around to dodge a weapon. You'll see this in Metaverse all the time, or sometimes Aether, unfortunately. You'll see people, this is how they dodge a spear. Take out your spear for me, and just start throwing it in my direction, okay? Yes, Mark.
Oops.
Yes. Oh God.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. So you got your spear here. Here's how I'm gonna dodge in a different scenario, in a different world. This is how I'm doing it because I can't get near that, and as long as I'm doing this and getting around your spear, and I look like I'm making effort to get out of way, Metaverse style, you're not gonna hit me because I'm the protagonist. However, player character versus player character is a little different. But if I'm the NPC, for instance, or you're the NPC, let's put you in the NPC's perspective, seeing as I'm the player, I'm trying to take initiative of combat. If you have a spear pointed directly toward me, one of the spear's greatest weaknesses when it comes to Krav Maga is that people are literally trained how to disarm and get close to a weapon without taking lethal hits. So for Krav Maga, your job is to get as close as possible with as least damage. And this works with blades, this works with knives, it doesn't matter. As long as you are close to them to subdue to the ground and get rid of that weapon, you bring them to your level. So say for instance, I'm militia level, right? You're trained level in FT standards. If you are trained, you outrank me. I'm getting a -2 to my attacks. That automatically does not work for me. However, if you're militia trained or untrained, because there is a difference, if you are trained in being a swordsman with a falx, you're trained in that profession. You're not a hand-to-hand specialist, that's a separate profession. You may have some know-how how to throw a punch, but you don't know the techniques involved. So therefore, if I were to lower you to my level or lower to untrained by getting rid of that weapon and throwing it to the side, the ball's in my court. And then I have more of a chance to attack you, and essentially initiative returns to me. But right now, as it stands, I'm fucked with this spear in front of me. There's not much I'm able to do. At least that's what people believe, but there's so much you can do. A spear is dangerous, but the same techniques that apply to hand-to-hand blocking apply to spears and can apply to blades, but with blades, you're gonna primarily be backing up and wait for an overswing. The most important part is waiting for that NPC to throw that heavy that goes whoop, and as soon as they throw that heavy, that's when you move in. That applies to real life, that applies to MMA, or not MMA, but it applies to any sport in terms of HEMA. If you want to take it to the ground, take out your rondel, that's what essentially secures the fight. So, I don't think I have the rondel on this model. I do not. You know what I do have, though? No, I don't have that either. Never fucking mind. You know what I do have? I had this book. I will fuck you up with this book. God, watch me. But so hold your spear out in front of me, and you can use a spear how you would normally use a spear. Funny enough, there's not much to a spear. You've got your overhead slashes to tap someone and cut them across the cheek, because that's a big blade. That's a big blade on it. You can cut with that. You can cut, as someone doesn't have any armor on their foot, you can cut their inner knee open. It's disgusting. It is deadly. So me standing this close is extreme danger zone. This is what we call the field of contact zone, and this is an immediate danger zone for me. However, if I'm up here close to you, there's no danger. All of a sudden, the ball's in my court. You have to drop your weapon. Or you can bring your weapon around. If you're an extremely well-trained unit, you can bring the butt of your weapon around and go hit me in the face. Boom! Then I'm back to my original position. With a spear in that close range, usually you're always going to resort to trying to get that person off of you again and maintain that distance once again. But for a well-trained or a trained, let's say, Gradian martial artist, their job is, and their specialty is, to disarm you, to bring you to their level so they can beat you. So expect it to happen. Like if you are a trained, so if I'm you, for instance, if I'm a trained southpaw Krav Gradian Marin, I'm already at an equal combat level to that person. So me risking myself to get in close, there's risk, but it's a flat roll against that when it comes to combat rolling in FT. And usually you won't be rolled for all the time when you're making a very important decision to like get in close. It's based on trust ultimately with the NPC and the player character. And the better you fight player characters and NPCs this way, the more trust is going to be built so that you're fine later down the line. So have your spear out in front of me and I'll show you a few techniques to do it. There's some very good ones. If you lunge toward me with like overheads under, all I have to do is continue to retreat until you overextend, you slash. You can also do arcs as the spear. You can slash to the side. That's dangerous too. I have to get out of the way of that. But eventually you'll tire out and there'll be a moment where you overextend, you over lunge, and that's where I have to move in. No, do it directly toward me. That's not toward me. Do it directly toward me. So I'll side pivot, and once again, that same technique with your arm will come into your spear. Seeing as you've over lunged, look where your leg is. Your back leg, you did it yourself. So many people do this when they have a pole arm or they have a what is it called? A quarterstaff. They will overextend their leg and then they're all on this leg, lunging forward, having to catch themselves with their front leg. I take advantage of that. So I throw you forward. Essentially, you're going to go to the ground. You'll drop your spear and look where I am. I'm right behind you. I'm going to kick your fucking ass. It may seem a little and it may seem a little fantasy, but that is the general way. Here, get in front of me right here. That is the general way that you're going to survive when it comes to people trying to fucking murk you. Let's do this. The same can be applied to overhead slashes. If you're gonna slash me with your spear, so I just duck and weave underneath. I know that looks a little scuff on your end because I'm like going, you know, but there, if you have enough space, you can actually get under an attack like that. Say someone has a sword and they're slashing toward you. As long as I get under here, I'm in your danger zone right there. And that was one. I'm moving once, so I'm literally side stepping. So that's one move. Okay, and then there's two moves, and then I'm literally extending to reach all the way to here. That's literally just a pivot or a sidestep, and then a forward lunge to get max kinetic energy and max velocity. Boom, right to your face. Or I could do it a different way. Or you could slash. Gone. Then that spear's out of the way, and then follow up, because all I have to do is kick the spear, land on my leg, boom, right to the face. Very, very, very good way of disarming an opponent. And of course, an NPC is not going to know what you're doing. a player character is not going to know what you're doing. Say you get involved in a PvP match. So the best way to explain it is that stunning strike to disarm, or just saying it out loud like that, like grabs the hair, trips. Say it like that so the NPC knows that the next time that happens, they're going to do the exact same thing. Yeah, make that whole motion. And you can do that all in one place. So, and that looks good on its own. In saying it, in slowing down the motion, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with me goes behind your leg with the right knee or the right leg, grabs hair, throws backwards. There's nothing wrong with me doing that. There's nothing wrong with slow motion by any means. A slow motion moment is literally the bread and butter you want to give the NPC, because they're having to respawn and get back on track and become another enemy, or they want to have a really important moment with you in terms of combat where your character develops, where it's like you're bobbing and weaving very slowly, and then you have this wind-up punch. You'll see Brunswick do this once or twice, maybe Giga at times, where they'll wind up and go something like that at the very last moment, but they choose to miss because, you know, it builds tension, it builds a moment, and then ultimately the NPC misses and creates an opening for the PC. So let me grab this document. So 7, this is the final note for number 7, slow motion. There's nothing wrong with being slow. So you have your normal combat. If we're just going back and forth like say I'm the NPC, you're the player, and you're punching at me, you don't want to throw anything that's like this. If I do this to you, do you see that? Do you see this strike? Do it to me. Do exactly at my speed what you just saw, and see if I can react. Yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard for me to see exactly what you're doing, because if I go, it's ridiculous. Not only does that tire you out so goddamn much, it looks terrible and trash. There's nothing wrong with back and forth trying to find initiative, because that's what we do in all of combat when it comes to VR roleplay. It has to look good. And in VR, if you're going too fast, desync's gonna catch up to you, and it's gonna look like you're phantom punching, which is ridiculous. So when it comes to VR combat and hand-to-hand and just the generalization of trying to, you know, come up with a fluid punch without it looking desynced or whatever, slow is always better. Slow looks so much better, and you can have slower moments so that those slow moments don't look so slow. So if I'm coming up to you and we're just having a normal bout, if I'm just and you're throwing punches and I'm dodging, I'm weaving, and I have this definitive moment where I look like I'm winding up and I go, but I choose to miss last minute, right? Then you can come up with your counter, and then initiative changes to you, and then, you know, give it back to the NPC. There's nothing an NPC wants more than to continue to fight you instead of having to respawn. So as soon as they miss that initial hit and you strike them directly in the face right after, they'll go, and then, you know, change the initiative back to no one. You don't have to take the hit, but then the initiative is back to it's anyone's game. And if you're a level above them in terms of combat, you're obviously going to win, but you want to make it look good. Here's my traditional blocking stance for Lottie when it comes to blocking strikes that are kicks. So this is kick blocking. So if a strike is coming directly toward my side, if you're throwing your left leg directly into me, my block is this. That's a check block. So I'm checking your leg with my arm, my inner arm, because if it's my outer arm, that's a bone. That's owie. That's going to be very, very, very owie. So do this. Do the same with the other leg. Something like this. I wind up. Oh, God. Marin! Oh, Christ. All right. My wind up is here. So I wind up, boom. If you kick with the other leg, I wind up, boom. Those are very traditional, very easy leg kick blocks. Then you have the inner ones. If you're kicking to the head, if you're kicking to the body, it doesn't matter. But let's focus on punches for now because that's a little more important. You can block. Your traditional block is going to be something like this, a wrist block. The whole point of a wrist block is that it uses the energy from your wrist to knock it aside with a very slight motion. This is a very quick, easy motion. So you punching toward my face, it opens you up. You can't punch me from this position, but I can. So I can reach. But Lottie will never do that. Then you punch me with your other one, your other hand, and it's much the same. I'm still blocking this way. Remember, if someone's punching towards you, you always have to return with the exact same arm. You mirror them. Because if I'm blocking you this way, where's my arm? I can't reach you. I'm fucked, right?
Oh, I see.
It's very bad. So mirror them. Always mirror your opponent. Same with the stance. Your stance won't look like this. Your stance will mirror them. Exactly as so. Unless you're very, very wounded, whereupon your opponent subconsciously will also change their stance because they will need to meet that stance. Usually. It doesn't always happen often, but if you're wounded, it's recommended you do that because like a lot of damage comes to this part of your leg. I cannot tell you how many times my leg swollen up here back when I was doing actual full contact, not JKA. It was just black because people would hit this leg in so many times because I never swapped stances.
The leg kicks.
The leg kicks, hitting right here over and over again, snapping leg kicks over and over again made this black. And that's because I was an idiot. I never learned to check. Checking is a very important block. So if I'm like this, mirroring your stance, and you throw a kick toward me with say this leg, this is a check. That hurts a lot for you more than it does for me because this is bone and that's bone. That's a shin. So me doing it at the side of my leg and me cutting off that energy is stopping you from essentially winding up at full power and striking at my leg. Same can apply to the other leg. If I switch legs and you switch legs and do the same thing for the other one, I pivot, check. Or I can do the same and just hit your own leg and trip you up. It doesn't matter. But it's very important to check. Nobody checks. You can check with the wrist leg both times if you're kicked either way. Sometimes I just choose to switch stance because checking multiple times can eventually lead to a very sore shin. One more technique we're gonna learn in terms of blocking. Oh yeah, okay. So more punch blocking. In karate, we learn 3 basic strike premise where we do strike, body, head. So we do 2 strikes to the body, 1 head. That is Japanese JKA traditional karate right there. So we do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It always rotates opposite arm. So after your boom, 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 it's the left, boom, 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 it's the right. There's a reason we do it in 3s because you'll get both equal workout in both arms. So for blocking purposes, we of course do the wrist. So if you punch me twice to the stomach, boom, boom. See how I bring my fist down here and I wind up? Yep. There's also a wind up when it comes to doing these blocks as well. Now that I actually remember, the reason we choose to wind up is because it follows the arm and you can blend into many different techniques. So if I'm doing this blocking, so hold that punch there. If I'm blocking this way, and then you're gonna punch me with that arm that's directly in front of or behind it, I'm gonna go like this, and then I'm gonna wind up, do the other one. And but you're gonna bring that arm obviously back. You won't hold it there forever, but it's just using it as an example. But usually you don't have to wind up all the way to block. You can just block like this. So that's traditional. That's traditional JK. But of course, that leaves my head open. But it actually doesn't. Having your guard here doesn't leave your head open at all. If you strike my head, there's another block I can teach you. Boom. That's another JKA standard blocking. I can't remember exactly what it's called because it's been Oh, it's been 6 years. But if you block like this, you know, their arm's going to return to their side again, or your arm's going to return to your default position, and you're going to try and punch me with the other one because, oh, look, he's open again. His face is wide open. Nope. Me doing this. Constant. So this right here is an easy block, but it will always look like this. You follow it through. You slip, and it in very short order goes like this. Right? So think of it like this. If my arms are like this all the time, that is their default resting position when I'm not blocking for either arm. So if my block is up here, mirror me. There you go. Perfect. I'm going to take this arm, release all tension here, and then bring this arm here, much like I'm blocking. So I'm going to bring it here, and then I'm going to cross this arm in front. And then I'm going to go, whew, done. And this one goes right here, back here. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. Done. You've learned it. That's it. That's blocking head blocks, our punches to the face. So doing this, boom, boom. This also works on kicks. You can do the same thing. You can do the exact same motion. Boom, boom, high kicks. You can go to the side with this motion instead of up. Up, side, inner. Up, side, right? And then inner. And then you can also do, Then you can also do the leg blocks. So from this position, from all these positions, you are able to block. That's why in traditional JK, they make you stand like this. Because all your resting positions will return to this position, unless you're in sparring mode, which is, it looks like this. So if I'm in traditional sparring mode, I can block from these positions because my arms are out in front of me. And I can strike, I can turn, I can pivot, hit you directly to your side. But primarily, I'm always returning to this position, and I'm always blocking from this position. Yep. Perfect. I will show you a step-by-step, and I'll go over it very slowly again, just so you'll see it in the video, and I'll show other people as well if they want to learn fake Krav Maga martial arts, just how easy it is. So if I go over it again, basic JKA blocks. If you want to learn a block that is universal in MMA that works for anyone, just stick to the basics, because the basics look good, and it's the best part about it, it's slow. Nothing about this is fast. It looks good, and the thing is about every single one of these blocks, you can follow up with a punch. You don't have to keep blocking. Block, block, or punch. Block, block, punch. Any of those positions, you can go block, leg kick, punch. You can block, punch. Any of these positions, you can blend into an attack. Any. And in the traditional style, in the sparring style in JKA, it's literally just this. So from this position, you're able to attack, you're able to block, you're able to attack, kick, you're able to jump, attack, right? And that's a very unique move. One move I actually wanted to show you because you actually brought it up, and I saw you were doing everything right. It was just you were going the wrong way with it. But this block is JKA traditional karate. If you want to block a kick that is to your groin, it's still painful for a woman, I'll have you know. Kicking a woman here, I've heard, still very painful, unfortunately, John Wick. So you going down like this and blocking a kick, so if you kick me right here, this is very important because this stops that from happening. So you're able to go boom. You're also able to, there's one of the orange belt katas in JK, I believe, the primary move is a jump, and you cross your legs with a block to your groin, and then you come back out of it and hit the next person with the backhand, like this. But it is a practical. It does work. It is useful. I don't recommend doing this though. Like, it's very concerning having people do this. There's also advancing blocks you can do, but seeing as we're staying in space, we don't need to. You can do stuff like this. Stuff like that. Those are advancing blocks when you're advancing on someone's position to get a punch in. So if you go stuff like that, you can also do that in place. You can go see, I'm moving my legs. I'm just sliding across, and then I can punch. I can continue to block from many of those positions. Good, very good. And of course, if you want to learn the whole the spinning back kicks where you throw one of these and then one of these, you can, but of course that risks cord. As I almost just did, I almost unplugged myself. I've done it so many times, which is why traditionally, whenever I play Victor the Inquisitor in FT, I stick the most basic, which is which is just crane kick, illegal kick, because it looks good, it's Hollywood, it's fantasy. Stop it. Stop it. I will kill you. It's such a bad move. It's so bad. But for an expert, it looks flashy and cool, right? All right. Let me think. I need to think of one more thing to go over. From that position as well, that guard position that you did, this position here is a very, very good position because it works in two ways. You can block an attack, strike, right? Or you can kick toward me, and I'll show you another move. You can grab. And the thing is, when they try and wrench it from you, ever you see one of those shovels that collects dirt by digging it into the ground and then pulling it out, and when you pull that out, the dirt stays? It's like one of those weed, things. I don't know. When you stick it into the ground, it catches it and it clamps it down harder. So me grabbing your leg, I can literally just move you in any direction I want. Because my hands, the way they are going to get tighter and tighter the more you pull away. And you won't be able to. Oh, God. Marin?
I think you broke it.
I think you broke it. You broke yourself.
It's just like...
In Krav Maga, and actual Krav Maga is really Krav Maga, it's a little bit different. They have a similar technique move, but their whole premise is contact and you doing as much damage on defense as possible. So if someone's coming up for you to kick, their common go-to is to literally shatter their knee. So if you bring your leg up to kick, my go-to is going to be something like this. I'm going to hook this leg. I'm going to go. I'm going to hit it as hard as possible. Either. Oh God. So, best way I can explain it. Let me do it this way. Let me do it this way. So, say you have my leg, for instance. I'm going to put it all the way up on my couch here. You have my leg, right? Your job in Krav Maga is to make my leg useless. Is to lethally fuck it up. How would you do that? You can hit it this way. But my kneecap's there. It's stopping you from doing that. You know it's not? The non-existent kneecap here or here. Yeah. You don't grab my kneecap. What you'll do is you can take your arm, you can bap it to the side, you can crush it, you can tuck it in by your hip even and draw it in tighter, bring your knee in from the opposite side and literally break it. Done. That works, and it's very disgusting. However, if you don't keep your guard up with the other hand, I'm gonna punch. So you have to, while you're doing that, you've hooked my leg with your arm like this. Perfect. You've hooked it by your hip. Now you need to pivot to break my leg, but you also have to keep your guard up because I'm gonna throw, boom, right there. If I'm a smart and I know Krav Maga, I'm not gonna allow you to do this. I'm gonna go straight into clinch. Because the reason I'm going to go straight into clinch, which I didn't go over, which is very important, the reason I'm going to go to clinch is because I lose here. I have to clinch in order to live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, and with my other leg, I'm going to let go of the ground and just go into you and pull you into me and take you to the ground and put you into a headlock if I can. Because in that scenario, I lose. Clinch, clinch you never want to be in. I hate clinch because clinch defense is good, but like being in a clinch is not fun because being this close to someone, kneeing them or taking knees to the body or trying to elbow them as hard as possible. And elbows are very hard to do in VR chat because of the way your arms are positioned, but you can make it look good with elbows. As long as you raise your arm like this, the elbow stays up and it can look good. But elbowing this part of your body, this part, and this part are the hardest parts of your body. So elbowing someone, dude, you're gonna kill them. And that's part of it. Krav Maga is literally all about elbows and literally fucking that person up. So, well, not all about elbows. I would say that's more Muay Thai. Muay Thai is literally 7 points of absolute destruction. So, for you, when it comes to clenching and clinch defense, you never really want to do this in roleplay because it's extremely sweaty, and taking an NPC to the ground gets exhausting and they have to respawn. It's a whole hassle. But what you can do is, if an NPC goes to grapple you, which is a very important thing Lottie's going to need to learn if she's going to survive, because she has a -2 to grapples and she auto fails if she's grappled. So if a player character grapples her, she gets a -2. If an NPC grabs her, she auto fails. She's grappled. So she needs to avoid the grapple because once she's grappled, she cannot get out of it. So there's clinch defense, there's grapple defense, and a common way is people will be like, try and go in for a grapple, underhand grapple. And one of the easiest methods is you can elbow them to the back. You can take them in a chokehold if they get too close underneath their neck, and do it that way. And literally, you'll keep them up. If I'm right underneath you, you'll keep them up. You won't have to take them to the ground, but now I'm being choked down. There's not much I can do unless I decide to take you to the ground by putting my leg behind you. But then again, not a lot of combatants that you come across in FT are going to be specialized in takedowns. But another way of clinch defense is if someone's rushing you or bull rushing you, if you bull rush me, is just to literally back up, grab head, and throw to the ground. Let them go. In Krav Maga, hair is free game. Throw them the fuck to the ground. Literally grab, throw them to the ground. But it's also a really non-lethal takedown. You can also sprawl your legs out. If you come directly toward me and are trying to go for my legs to trip me up and body slam me to the ground, I'm literally just going to spread my legs and do this so that you can't reach anything. And now I'm on top of my back. I'm going to hammer fist your back, or I'm just going to lay on top of you so now you cannot do anything. Or much worse, once your arms go far out past that point, your arms are there. All I have to do is knee you. Not fun. I'm so sorry. Oh God. Martin, you just ate it. No, but clinch defense. Something you don't really want to see in roleplay too much, or combat roleplay, because, or I'd say just a clinch in general or a grapple, because not only is it boring, it gets exhausting. So try as little as possible to go into a grapple. You can go into a clinch. Like if a clinch is similar to like that moment in an anime where they're crossed swords and they're not moving and it's all intense. It's a waste of time, and in a realistic fight, you're just gonna take out a knife or you're just gonna riposte and cut. You're never gonna stand like that ever in a medieval setting with a long sword clashed or a katana just holding your blade like this. My father's sword, my village, you stole my rice. No one's gonna do that. But yeah, clinch. If you're gonna clinch, make it look good. Make sure you're far apart. So that you can see the moves you're doing with your opponent, whether it's a player or an NPC, so you can knee, so you can elbow. Just be sure to keep, in VR, you have to keep this up. Your hands have to be up in order to show that elbow. Otherwise, if you put it down, your elbow is going to stay down. But if it stays up, it stays up. See the difference? Big difference. Let me show the camera. Big difference. If I have my elbow here, as opposed to here, Here. Looks a lot better. All right, elbowing is also another part of it. Elbows are one of the strongest points in your body. If utilized correctly, it's one of the key knockout things. It's why you see people whipping their elbows around to end a fight like this in MMA, is because a back fist like that, whipping your elbow around, is extreme force coming at 1,000,000 miles an hour that you're not going to see coming. And this can be blended. What's beautiful about a spinning back fist like that is that it can be blended so well and feinted out into so many attacks. If I'm throwing a punch here, boom, right? You're not seeing this coming. You're going to go, oh, I'm going to dodge, right? And I'm going to strike him. Well, no one saw this coming. No one saw that. And the slower that looks, the better. And you can do that in one place. You can do that in one sitting where I throw a punch to you, you'll, I don't know, move it out of the way, or you'll dodge and then you'll just backhand. So go on the defensive, throw a punch at me, feint it out, and then literally just pivot on this foot, much like you're doing a spinning back kick, but instead of a back kick, land back on this foot and just bam, right in the face. Because that looks so good in roleplay. When you do a spinning back fist like that, it looks disgusting. So I'm gonna go, ha, block. Oh fuck, you see how bad that's so good. Do it again, do it again. You have to do it again. It looks so good. So hit me, ignore everything I'm saying, but hit me, boom. Yeah, and you could also spin using your joystick. That's another thing. You can completely spin with your joystick. You don't even need to turn in real life if you don't want to. Let me show the most practical way of doing this then. If you, if I punch you, if I feint out a punch, I'll wait for you. You're fine. There you go. Now come here in front of the camera so you're a little bit closer so people can see what this looks like. All right, so if I come at you with a punch, right? Boom, but it misses, and then you're going to attack me, or you're gonna go that way. It doesn't matter. But if you go that way, so now I'm vulnerable, right? Now you can punch me. Now you can trip me up. You can hit me with that fist. But if I move around, done. And that's literally just me turning in. That's me turning in VR. And to make it look good, I'll just bring my leg in so it looks like I'm pirouette spinning, like a bitch, right? Literally, it will look fine. But in real life, I like doing it in real life. I wanna put in the effort. So what I'll do is I'll have my hand out here. I'll throw a fake punch. You'll dodge to the right or to the left, I'd say. There you go, perfect. And then I'm gonna come around and then boom. Because now you're throwing a punch. I know you're gonna throw the punch because that's instinct. You have to change initiative. That's how it works IRL. That's how it works in VRP. You have to gain initiative. I'm not going to give it to you. I'm just going to keep hitting. That's why spinning back fist is so good for kickboxing. And just in boxing in general, it is very good. That's pretty much it. That's all you need to know. That's basic martial arts that are practical and fake. Because Krav Maga is literally the bastard martial art of every mixed martial art there is. And, well, as long as you are slow and methodical about your moves and you know exactly what you're doing and you're never standing like this, you'll be fine. Never stand like this. You stand like this, you're dead. You stand like this, you're dead. Don't stand like this.
Okay.
So always keep your stance. Have your guard, whatever it may be. It could be southpaw, it doesn't matter. It could be open palm strike. It can be Aikido. And Aikido, I'm going to use primarily as my character only for the reason that in a social setting, Aikido means I am submitting. I do not want to fight you. Please don't fight me. I'm giving the option to not fight because at the end of the day, I'm going to avoid you and run the fuck away, right? Please don't rob me. I submit, but I'm going to defend myself if need be. But with Marn, it's, oh, you fuck up those orphans? Die, bitch. Another important facet about striking, which is the last thing I'm going to go over, is keeping your chin in. Because if you're fighting like this with your chin up, like, come at me, bro. Seriously? You're a piece of shit. I'm going to fight you. This is literally inviting Conor McGregor to fucking shit on your face with his fist. Don't do this. Never hold your head up like this ever. Never taunt like this. That you're asking to die if you ever do that. Keep your chin tucked in. Keep it like this, and when you strike, obviously exhale. You already know about that. I didn't have to explain that to you. If you exhale, and you keep your chin in. No matter what happens when you strike, that chin has to be in. That chin is tucked when you kick because it's protecting this. If this gets hit, your windpipe's crushed. You're fucked. And that usually doesn't happen, but it has happened, and it has killed in a fucking ring arena. So that's why it's suggested you tuck your chin in. And for people that are primarily headhunters, which is a term in kickboxing for people that literally just wait for your head to show up in their radar and go and try and take a swing at it, having that chin tucked in will save your life. Because if it's out here, it's gonna wobble. If it's down here, it's harder to wobble. Much easier. So keep your eye on the opponent, but keep your head down and lowered and tucked. You don't have to do that really much IRL because you just having the headset down here because of the way it's positioned in your face already looks like you're tucking. And that's it. That's it, Marn. Great job. Sensei. I look forward to the lesson. Primary things we'll probably go over on Tuesday, if you would like to do more lessons with Lottie, is probably more of the pivoting, some of the blocking techniques we learned, which is this. Right? And of course, blocking kicks, which is very good. And of course, Lottie can learn because it's a stunning move. It's made to gain distance and run away. If you want to teach Lottie how to side kick and hit the liver, you can. The liver's located always on your right side, right behind your back right here. Because hitting that stuns an opponent and makes them stop breathing. Even though it doesn't knock breath out of them, it makes their heart jump because their blood flow has been interrupted and they go, you know, like a mini heart attack. So that move could be very useful for Lottie in terms of, you know, learning how to escape, right? Or even evasion or slipping punches. Slipping is not something I went over because it's primarily a boxing technique. You're going to be mainly blocking when it comes to real life scenarios. You're not going to be going in real life. That's extremely exhausting. You want to back up, use your footing position. That's why the stance is the most important thing, because backing up is very important. Try locomotion off sometimes, like in RP. Like when you're fighting someone and you're not running away, just try it off, because as a monk, it looks so good, right? And that's me standing in place. I'm still standing. I'm in the center of my room right now, and I'm just going. It looks good. Yeah. You see? It doesn't look too bad. You know, maybe a little scuffed at times, but it's not too bad. Great job. Great job, Martin. That's Krav Gradian 101. I made up martial art for FT. All right. That looks good. That has slow-mo in it, which is very good. And of course, just it's practical. And it looks good when it comes to combat. Now, of course, if we're having a normal sparring bout, there's nothing wrong with, you know, striking, continue to hold initiative, but keep in mind, eventually, an NPC is going to want to hit or two. Like, just give it to them. Just have fun with it, or just have fun with your sparring partner that's a player character. Like if you're teaching Dredge, you're faster than Dredge. You're trained, he's untrained in martial arts. So automatically you have a +4 against him. Just assume you're dodging most of his hits and you're able to move out of the way and avoid grapples because that is your specialty. Never be afraid to flaunt your prowess if it's something you've trained for. If a character is untrained in martial arts and you are trained, you had the ball's in your court. You could do whatever the fuck you want to them at that point. At that point, you don't roll. If you're well trained versus militia, there's not really a roll there. You just you will auto win. That's the same applies to trained versus expert. In terms of FT, the way it goes is if you are Untrained versus expert, it's an auto fail. If you are militia and it versus expert, it's auto fail. If it's trained versus expert, it's an auto fail. You have to be well trained. So everything below that is just assume if you're militia versus well trained, you're gonna fail. If you're trained versus militia, you're at disadvantage. The list goes down, but assume that if you're going against untrained combatants that say you've disarmed them, they were trained in a sword, but they don't have the sword anymore. Now they're fighting you at an untrained combat level of punching, and you are the master of your field, of the Jade Monastery, the Jade Fist. Like, you're going to fuck them up. So don't worry about it. Also, you have castices. You have beads on your hand when you fight, right? That shit hurt.
Yeah.
I have been hit. I have been hit by a castis. I have been hit by people that use not beads, but bands. Oh my god, Marin. Oh my god, Flonika. That shit hurts. So, an NPC getting hit by that raw in the face that doesn't have a helmet, owie. Big owie. That you don't need to explain that to them because, like, obviously they're going to see the beads on your hands and it's just, boom. That's just, it's disgusting. It hurts a lot being hit by that. Yeah, it is literally brass knuckles having that. Having a case is a brass knuckle. It is disgusting, but very good. Anyway, that's it. Sensei
All right,
Marin.
well, thank you for the lesson.
That's it. That's all I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna go to bed and then go to work